All right, today we're going to be digging into a Arctic Cat Prowler 700. This is the XTX model, and I'm just going to show you a quick fix here for the slipping problem that happens on these XTXs. They've got a turf saver rear differential, and when they start to go bad, what'll happen is your engine will rev up, and you won't go anywhere for a couple seconds, and then it'll just take off. It's very hard to control and difficult to go slow speeds. So what we're doing today is replacing the rear differential gear to the XT model differential. Now it's a pretty easy fix, but there are some things that you're gonna need to know before you start. So first things first, you're gonna go ahead, pull the tires off, obviously. We're gonna go ahead and pull that, drain that oil. You don't have to pull that cover yet, but drain the oil. It's an 8 millimeter nut on the bottom of that differential. And then you're going to pull this knuckle off that sits here, and it's 15 millimeter socket with a 13 millimeter bolt that runs through it this way. You don't have to undo this shock I did on this one. You don't need to. And then you're gonna wanna pull the other side off as well. So same thing over there. You're gonna have to knock those knuckles out of that axle, as this seems to be a common problem for these, is those axles get stuck in the knuckles. So get those knocked out, and next thing you're gonna do is grab the gear that we purchased. And that gear is substantially different. I'll show you each one. This gear is the XTX model gear, and you can see that slip design in there. And that's the XTX, so this is the one that we're replacing. I've already put the new one in there. There's spacers on either side of this, and there's shims, so you wanna make sure that those get taken out and put on the new one. And then here is the XT gear, and that's as simple as just putting it in there. And then, like I said, we've got our spacers. They're shims, you got one on each side. You notice this doesn't have the internal gears that XTX model one has, but there's a shim on either side there, and those shims can be replaced if you're having a little bit of hesitation or some free play on that gear. But just pull that out. You take it's 30 millimeter Torx, and there's 2, 4, 6, 8 of those bolts around the outside of this housing here. You take that out, and all it is you just pull it apart there. Got an O-ring that you want to make sure that when you're going back together, make sure you put it on this side of the housing instead of the differential that's already in there, as you don't know exactly that it's going to fall right into place if you put it in this side of the housing. So this is you don't generally won't be 100% snug. You can kind of hear it rock back and forth there, and there's like very little play in there, and very little is fine. If there's quite a bit, you definitely want to replace it. Now, the other thing I told you, you're gonna need new drive axles. So the inner diameter here of these splines is going to be a different size on the XTX as it is from the XT. So you have to order axles for the XT gear. And so the XT gear, the inner housing here is a little bit bigger, so your axles will not work. You'll have to order new axles. That gear, I can order that for you. It is about $200, the XT gear is, versus the XTX Turf Saver gear is around $600. So substantial savings. You are swapping out your axles. They're $150, $175 a piece. For a good quality axle. You don't want to use some cheap knockoff axle. You want to make sure you use something quality, because these differentials aren't cheap. You don't want to have to be redoing the whole assembly here in the next year once you put 1,000 miles on it. So I suggest using a brand, EPI, Moose, Quad Boss, even the stock axles from Arctic Cat are fine, but there's several brands out there that are less than $100 an axle, and those just aren't quality axles. So putting it back together, then all you do is take this cover, and you'll see we pulled our fill bolt out here, and that goes straight back. So that's the direction that it goes. And again, make sure that our O-ring is on this side of the housing, and then just slip it on there and it'll fit. Oops. Just slide right on there, and that's all you need. Now to put those axles back in, you gotta give them a little bit of a shove to get them in there. Those snap rings will line up where they need to be. Just kind of center it, try to get it as straight as you can, and push them in there. But we'll get these Torx heads put back on. We'll put the axles in there. We'll put knuckle and hubs back on, tighten everything down, and then we will fill that oil up to where it needs to be. You want to drop that the UTV down in the riding position. I've got it jacked up now, but you want to drop it down there so that your oil level is accurate. So if you have questions on this, let me know. If you like the video, subscribe, share, and hope you found it helpful.